Welcome to another episode of the Get Out Swim podcast. I'm your host, Seamus T. Quinn, and today I'm joined by head coach of Catawba men's and women's swimming. Today's guest is Matthew Gearing. Matthew, thanks for hopping on.
Hey, Seamus, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So good. So, last guest on the podcast, Rob. Rob recommended having you on. I said, you two are good friends, and
Yep.
yeah, just excited to be doing this and to meet, yet again another coach. So good. So you're going into your fourth year at Catawba.
Yep.
Talk to me about sort of what's exciting you, like what's getting you just heading into this fourth year. You've spent 3 years as a head coach now at Catawba and have grown the program. So, what's exciting you going into this fourth year?
Yeah. I think you're always trying to find different things each year, right? To get excited about. And, I think this year for us, like this is kind of finally, we're at a point now where we're moving in a really good direction. We're coming off an incredible year last year, both men and women. And we're now, I feel like there's a good understanding of everyone of what we're trying to do with the program. When I first got here, it was in a very different position than where we're at right now. And so it was really just trying to get everyone to believe of like, hey, this is what we can do. And really, this is what we're going to do. We just need you to get on board with it. And thankfully, they did. Like we had no pushback in the beginning. Like I said, it was just in a very different place, the program when I arrived. And I think one of the big things like that I'm super grateful for is like the kids that were here were hungry for change. They wanted to be better. They wanted to work hard. And so it wasn't like pulling teeth to get them to do what, we ultimately wanted them to do. But now we're at a point where, our seniors on the team, which we have a big senior class. Those are the kids that were freshmen our first year. And so we didn't recruit any of them. And, we have some transfers and things that we added into that class that we recruited, but kind of the OG seniors, right? We didn't recruit them. They were recruited by the old staff. They came here expecting one thing. And then I guess kind of summertime, maybe spring of before their freshman year, old head coach left. They didn't really know what was going to happen. They all stayed, right? They stayed committed. They still wanted to come. I got hired, and obviously they didn't know who I was. And then the assistant coach that was at the time, she also left. And so then I think they really got nervous. But they still stayed. They wanted to come. And so, then I was able to hire an assistant. And so we got here and kind of got things going. But, that this group is really special to us because they've been through everything with us. We've had, every year there's things that go the way you want them to, and there's things that don't. And they've been through everything. They've seen everything. And they're really the ones that can appreciate the change and appreciate kind of the trajectory that our program's on. And, I think we're losing a lot of wisdom in that class. And talking with them, it's like, we got to impart that wisdom on this younger, our freshmen, our sophomores. We got to make sure that they really get it and they really understand because it's really special. Like it's there's a lot to it. But yeah, I think that's what's exciting is, now our juniors, sophomores, and freshmen have all been recruited by us. They come in knowing what to expect, right? There's no like, oh, this isn't what I thought. Like, no, we pretty much explain everything up front. And we got to pick them, right? They chose us. That's what we tell them freshman year, like, hey, thank you for choosing us, but like, we also chose you. And so I think that's one of the great things about recruiting. You get to choose who's on your team. But yeah, we're now at a point where we're competitive. We're doing great in terms of our conference, in terms of, nationals and what we've done at the NCAA national championship. And so I think this year, we can put a lot of things together and have a year that our program's never had before.
Yeah. And sort of expand on sort of what you've seen in your 3 years. Like, what are you sort of most proud of as head coach? Sort of looking back on the 3 seasons so far, because I can see like you guys are competitive within the conference. You kind of narrowly were runner-ups on both sides last year, and
Yep.
like you said, have now kind of made a mark on the national level. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What are you kind of just proud of?
Yeah, I think there's different things from every year. It's hard to pick one thing. I think it started the first year. It kind of started with just understanding where the expectations were and not having them be too high and not having them be too low. Right? We wanted things that were going to challenge us, but as simple as like watching. I have a one girl in my head right now, Lily Martin. She's an alum of us. She just graduated last year, but she has 2 metal rods in her back from back surgery. And so our first year, like just watching her like go a best time that she hadn't done in 3 or 4 years, and watching her get out of the water with a smile on her face and loving swimming again. Like for me, that's all I needed. Like that was okay. We're doing the right things. We've got great kids here. The culture's in a really good spot, and we're helping people improve. So, I think from the very beginning, that was really kind of what it was. And of course, that's changed and evolved. And we want people to love swimming, and we want people to improve. But now we're kind of more shifted, and yeah, we got runner up on both men and women last year, and I think we look at last year like winning our first relays ever at conference. That was huge for our women's team. Going to a national championship with 16 athletes, and having our women get 14th in the country, and having all 10 of those women that we brought become an All-American in some event. That's huge, right? Watching our men go from our first year having 8 men compete at our conference championship, not having a single person in the 100 or 200 breaststroke because we didn't have one. Watching them go the second year and get second at conference, go from 4th to 2nd in 1 year. And then, having, we had 6 guys at NCAAs this past year, having our first relay, that we've had here and within the program a really long time become All-American at NCAAs, and having a freshman get 6th in 2 events, and having another guy, make 4 individual A finals, which only 3 men in the entire country did.
Wow.
There's just like a lot of things that we can point to. I think another thing that's worth mentioning, like our women's team has had the highest team GPA in Division II women's swimming for the past 6 semesters in a row. That's a pretty awesome stat that we're really proud of, and it's part of our culture, and it's a part of our goals, and our women love it. They want it. They want to keep having that title. But we also know that's getting harder and harder because I think people are paying attention to that, and we welcome that. We welcome the competition. We can't control what anyone else does. We're going to work on ourselves and make sure we're, at the end of the day, doing everything that we possibly can. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can kind of get pointed at that we're really proud of, and a lot more that we know is coming this year and in the next few.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned kind of off air coming in as a young head coach, and just having to embrace what that shift was going to be like from being an assistant, a volunteer assistant, sort of being the fun guy like we talked about. And then, being the head coach and having that shift where now you're the one making decisions. You're the one who's, the swimmers are going to point fingers at you when they're not happy with something that you guys are doing. So talk to me about how, I guess, you've been able to embrace that role and also work through some of the challenges that's presented, and and just continued to kind of stick with, building this program. Because, something I'm also hearing is that it takes time. Like you can't do it in a year. You can't do it in two.
Yeah.
You're growing into 4 years now of building this program. And so, yeah, I guess what does that look like? Like, how do you just kind of go through that as a human being?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the number one person to maybe ask that. I don't know if I've done a great job of embracing it. I think year 4, like I've kind of just, it is what it is. In the beginning, it was super hard, right? And I mean, I was a volunteer for 5 years. So, I volunteered more time than I've been here as a head coach. And so that's just a really different mindset. It's really hard to go from, I was a volunteer for 5, and then I was only an assistant coach for 2 years, right? And then came here. So
Right.
those are very different positions in terms of obviously what you're doing and your tasks and things like that, but the viewpoint from the team.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure we'll kind of get into how I got into this, but 4 of those 5 years as a volunteer, I was also an undergrad. So, there was always at least one person on the team throughout my 4 years that like halfway through the season would be like, wait, you're a student here? And it's like, yes, I am. Like, I go to classes just like you. And they're like, oh, wow, I thought you were like 27 or 28 and like full time. And this was and I'm like, no, I'm a literal like 20-year-old, just like, I'm only a year or 2 ahead of you in college.
Right. We're younger than some of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or younger. Yeah. I mean, my first year I was younger than, most of the team.
Right.
And so that's different, right? Like you're a peer, you're a friend. They don't see you as a coach at all.
No.
Especially the first year or 2. Things maybe shift a little bit as, I got more responsibility and was maybe viewed a little bit differently, but like not really. So you go from that to then being, I guess, quote unquote, a true volunteer at a program at, as at Indiana. But you're still a fun guy. You're still the guy that people come and talk to and, going to complain about things. And, it's just different. And then going from that to an assistant coach, I had a really interesting transition as an assistant coach because my head coach when I was in Arkansas at Little Rock, I love my head coach, Amy. She was incredible. She gave me a ton of freedom, a ton of autonomy. And so I don't necessarily know if I was the fun assistant coach in the beginning. I think I was kind of the mean assistant coach, at least for the first semester. And then it switched and I became, I think they lightened up to me and warmed up to me a little bit. But so it's just kind of going from these different positions and then coming to the head coach. And you said it, like people are going to point fingers. People, if they're unhappy with decisions, like it ultimately comes back to me. I have to have, an answer for everything. I have to be able to justify why we're doing certain things. But I think the big thing for me is I try to make, and I'm a human, I don't do everything right, but I try to make the decisions with Catawba swimming as the first priority. So, and we talk about that as a team of like, hey, you guys aren't going to agree with everything I do. But at the end of the day, my job is to do what's best for Catawba swimming, not what's best for you as an individual. And sometimes not what's best for me as an individual. There are certain decisions that I have to make that I'm like, gosh, I really don't want to do this. Like me, Matthew Gearing, but I know it's better for the program.
Yeah.
And so trying to have that be, top of mind and lead with that when it comes to making decisions, I think for me has been really helpful. Again, am I batting 100? Absolutely not. But I think it has provided kind of a guiding star for me to follow.
Yeah, definitely. And going off of that, how would you describe sort of your style as a coach? Maybe that's shifted, right? Like since you've been a head coach, but what's, we hear that word philosophy and maybe that's applicable, but what do you find is sort of your approach to being on the pool deck and coaching our athletes and leading them?
Just like the day-to-day like coaching style.
Yeah. Day to day.
Yeah. I think, I always tell, we were talking to recruits and stuff, like we are a quality over quantity type of program, right? We want to make sure that what we're doing has a lot of purpose to it, that we're being intentional with how we're, from us on a coaching perspective, being intentional with how we're writing practice, but then them on an athlete perspective, being intentional with how they're going through a practice, not just mindlessly doing it. Also don't want to just like grind out yardage like that. Isn't really fun, in my opinion. So, we never really come in with the goal of like, hey, we have to hit 8,000 here at this practice. Like that's not. I mean, are we going to know what the yardage is that we're hitting? Or are we going to have kind of a goal that we're trying to get to? Like, yeah, absolutely. But the number of times that I change my practice from what I've written, or just go into practice and don't have anything prepared and watch them in warm up because I need to know what they look like before I can give them what I feel like is going to be best on that day in that given moment. That happens a lot. That happens way more than it doesn't happen. And so I think it's being flexible. It's work with the people that are in front of you. That's your audience. That's the people that you're trying to cater to. And so, I think that's like basic, quality over quantity, kind of period. And then from there, there's obviously differences between each athlete in terms of what their week looks like, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. We kind of follow a pretty traditional model in terms of 3 training groups: sprint, middle distance, and distance. And I mean, those 3 have pretty drastically different schedules from one another in terms of when they're swimming, when they're lifting, who's doing dry land, what they're doing in each of those swims, even what they're doing in the weight room. There's a lot of differences. We make sure that we have some similarities. We make sure they bring the team together. We don't want to be 3 different teams, right? We want to be one team. But we also want to make sure that we're, again, meeting the needs of those that are in front of us. And, some of the sprint girls came back this summer and were like, oh my gosh, my coach is making me do 400 IM practices at long course this summer. And I'm like, that just sounds like absolutely miserable. And one, like, you don't need to be doing that. Like, that's not helping you get faster at all. So, is what it is when they go home. But we try to be pretty specific towards the events they swim. And I think one of the best things that we do is we don't create, here's a basic schedule, and because you're in middle distance, you have to do this schedule. Because you're in sprint group, you have to do this schedule. There's people that move all over the place. So we have a few of them actually this year. Last year was our first time. We had a girl who was, in distance for, let's say, the bulk of her week, and then spent 2 to 3 practices in mid D, and then did 1 in sprint. And she saw all 3 groups throughout the week. And that's what we felt like what was best for her. And now we have a few that are doing that schedule. And so that's pretty cool. We have a different schedule for our 400 IMers that just do something a little bit different than maybe the distance group. So we try to fit the schedule around the individual, have conversations with them. What's worked well for you in the past? What do you think about this? What do we need to change? And then actually do it. And I think there's been people every single year for the past 3 years that we can point to that we did something different than the year prior, and it worked out better for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the big thing of like, we're trying to make changes. It's not, here's what you're going to do for the next 4 years. And there's never going to be any mix up to this. There are some people, right? There are some sprinters that they are just sprinting, and they're not really seeing a whole lot of other groups And there's some distance people who they are just doing distance and they're not doing anything else. So, but again, those are who those individuals are, and so we're going to give them, what they need.
Yeah. You know what I'm always curious about as a coach is like we have so much information now on how to approach training and what works for sprinters versus mid D versus distance. And I guess looking at what has remained the same through the years and what has really been like a shift. And I guess trying to find as a coach, like, okay, what is a basic sort of like structure that works, but then what are things that I'm learning that are new and that I'm finding are actually more helpful. And I guess you mentioned quality over quantity. And I've heard that before because it's in essence getting away from a model of grinding out a ton of yards across all groups, and focusing more on intention and attention to detail, and specifically training certain aspects of your swimming that are going to help your racing. So I guess leading to a question, what do you find has been something that you have like learned as an important part of sort of like how you approach writing a workout, and then also like what has remained the same? I guess because I'm always thinking about that when I'm writing workouts. Okay, like what pattern am I noticing that I'm like still following, but then also what am I adding? Like what am I intaking and like learning and through observing or listening to other coaches that I think is actually like helping, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say probably the thing that I've learned and really I feel like I'm like it's still blowing my mind is like how low on volume you can actually go.
Yeah.
I always felt like I was pretty low volume in terms of like maybe like the sprint side of things. But I know like there's a few programs that are going way less than what I would do. And you had Austin on, and like he's one where him and I will message occasionally and kind of asking him what he's doing, and I'm like, holy crap, like you're really getting away with not doing a lot, which I love. That's 100% my jam. I think you look at Todd at UVA, like I don't think they're doing a lot of volume. I don't think they're doing a lot of aerobic work for their sprinters right now. I also think you have to have a certain level of ability and a level of talent to get away with that. Right. There's this, that's what I don't think that has changed. Like, and I think I tried maybe to do that a little bit too much in the beginning when I was here. And I just don't know if we had the right people for it. Whereas like now we're getting to the point where we do have the right people for it. And I can kind of shift that a little bit. So I think that's something of like, as long as you're being intentional and you're focusing on the right things, you could probably get away with not doing a ton for the sprint, right? And I also think we're maybe a little bit different in D2. And I don't know, actually, we should have talked about this beforehand. D2, and I don't know, a ton of people I don't think know this, like you get to swim 4 individual events at a championship meet. So at a conference and a national championship, you get to swim 4 individual events. And the reason for that is because we offer the 1,000.
That's right.
Where no other Division 1, Division 3 doesn't offer the 1,000. I love the 1,000. I think it's a great event. And, I lean more towards the sprint side of things. I have an incredible associate head coach, Reagan, who's been with me. She's going into year 4 as well. And she crushes it with the distance. Obviously, as the head coach, I kind of make the whole plan and we talk about it. But now we're at a point like she knows what she's doing. She does things the way that I would do them and does them better than what I would do. I'll look at stuff and be like, oh, wow, I don't know if I would have gotten to that. So she crushes it and does a great job and allows me to, delegate that part to her. So yeah, definitely lean more towards the shorter side of things. But like, I love the 1,000. I love that we offer it. I think it makes distance swimming more valuable.
Yeah.
Because I think you look at say a D1 or a D3, and let's say you have like a true distance guy, right? And they're a miler. Well, maybe, right? Their 500 isn't very good, and they probably don't have a good 200. So they really are only providing any sort of value to the team in one event. I mean, that's not, from a recruiting standpoint, I don't, each coach has to make their own decision, I guess, but it's not bringing in a ton of points at the championship meet. And so for us, like, hey, we can go the mile and the 1,000. And then I think you just see in D2 some of those people that can, because of that, also are able to do the 500 and 200 at a really high level. Or I don't know if you see that maybe in the other divisions. So, but then take the sprint side of things. Like, there's only a handful of people in the sprint group that do not swim a 200. I'd say I can only think of 2 off the top of my head right now that don't swim a 200 of any sorts.
Right.
So even as a sprinter, and for us, it's helping them be prepared throughout the course of a 5-day meet, 4.5-day meet now, with the 800 freestyle relay starting on a Tuesday and then going, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, prelims, finals. So you're swimming 4 individual events, you're going prelims, finals of those, and then you're on 3 relays because you're still at your 7 max. And so it's a lot, it's an extra swim there. On the sprint side of things, like, you're ending, just as anyone's kind of ending, but you're ending your, hopefully your 9th, 10th, and 11th swim as 100 free, where you're, probably trying to get faster, go prelims, get faster at finals, and try to be the best we can on the relay. That's hard, right? So we have to have some aerobic background. We have to have some kind of hard work. It just needs to be intentional for that, grouping of people. Yeah, I think that's one of the big things of just, as long as you're focused on what you're doing, I think you can get away with cutting things out a little bit. I just don't think we need to add so much fluff to it.
Yeah, totally. Is there like an example of some sort of set drill form of training that you have enjoyed working with, like this past year or past couple of years? Yeah.
We use resistance a lot. So we got some weight belts, I guess last year. So we use weight belts quite a lot, just for body position kick. Really forces you to engage your core. Swimming with those is really tough, and you can actually make it heavier or make it lighter, which is really nice. So I think that's great. Obviously socks, chutes, things like that. We have mittens for the hands. Those are huge. Balls, hold balls in your hands. So we use just like a lot of different pieces of equipment. We're on towers, multiple times a week.
Why though? Like, why is it so? Why do you find it's important?
I would say for the technical aspect, I think it exposes a lot of flaws, and I think it almost forces you to overcompensate. And then when we take that thing away, hopefully we're right where we need to be. And I think when you pair that with, use underwater cameras like a lot of people do, and they can actually see what they're doing, I think that is where you get a lot of benefit. I make up a ton of stuff just on the spot. And I'm really bad about writing it all down. So sometimes it's just like, all right, I've never done this before. Let's try to do it and see how it goes. And sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's like, all right, that was a fail. We're not doing it again. But I think like trying to just give them new challenges and put them in different positions in terms of like the technique to be able to solve the problem. I think that has been really helpful. In terms of like the training stuff, again, I'm pretty horrible about writing things down, and we don't really repeat a lot of sets. So I kind of just, again, making stuff up that, within the structure and kind of the flow of what we feel like works really well. But I do think like giving them like constraints has been huge for us. We do a lot of stroke count work. We do a lot of breath control. something we did this morning was like, we just did multiple hundreds of like, take one less stroke per 25, but you have to maintain the same underwater dolphin kick count per wall.
Oh, interesting.
That can't change, but you got to take one less stroke. And so just putting them again in different positions, or doing something where, maybe they have to do something, I don't know, a 50 like strong into a 25 with 2 breaths, or we do multiple 50s and the last 10 meters no breath on a short rest interval. That's can get pretty hard if you do enough of them. So I think just like finding different ways to give them the stimulus, right? And especially for the sprinters, like I don't want to just grind them out with 200s and 300s and a bunch of short rests, longer distances. So how can we keep their stroke intact and kind of get the same thing accomplished? I think that's been big for us.
Yeah, for sure. Any drills that you like for, freestyle or a certain, just a certain drill that you like?
I don't know if there's like, we just do a lot of single arm. We do a lot of like human paddle. We do a lot of sculling in general. And that's where we'll throw on mittens, or we'll put, hold the balls, do a lot of sculling into swimming, really just like helping them get a better feel for the water. There is like, I guess, kind of like go-to freestyle drill, which is, we haven't taught it yet because not everyone needs to know it because it's a little complicated, but it's called single arm snap. And you're kind of laid out on one side with like one arm up by your ear, one arm down, and you're really working on like the connection piece of your kick and your pull. So you like get your legs in a really wide stance, and then you're trying to time the kick and the pull. And if you've never done it before, it's really like mentally it's hard to like get into that position. So we always have our like upperclassmen teach that to the new people, which took me a long time to teach our first year. So I think like working the connection between kick and pull can be really, really beneficial. Even for someone that swims a 50 freestyle, like there is a connection point. There is like an anchor point with the kick.
With the one arm snap, it's like you're laid out on your side. I'm going to try to demonstrate this. You're here, and then you're up here. So
other arm's down by your side.
This one's down by your side.
Yep.
Okay. And then how long are you kicking for here?
So you're kind of flutter kicking for like as long as you need to kind of get yourself moving and be on top of the water so you're not sinking. Okay. And then once you're in a good position, you get a really wide stance. And so if you're like you have your left arm up there. So if you have left arm up, left arm's up, right arm's down, your right leg is going behind you and your left leg is going in front of you. So it kind of looks like this. And then you're snapping your hips over like that and pulling at the same time. And that will cause your body to rotate. And then you just take a single arm stroke, single arm snap, take the stroke with the single arm, and then you're back to the starting position. Flutter kick, get yourself moving, pause the kick, get your legs in the snap position, snap over, and then continue.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a real, like, I don't know, words do not do it justice.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I try to explain it to the group, I'm like, just watch this person instead.
And so you find it's good because it connects your sort of the catch, like that pull and that kick through.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think if you do like kind of forces you to engage your core, forces you to find that connection point. And so we'll go through a lot of like skill work and then into just like strong swimming. And hey, can you feel the difference between what we were just working on and what you're doing now? And I would say that drill specifically, like we get everyone, once they figure out kind of the mechanics of it, it like clicks for everybody. And it's really big. Like it helps a lot for us.
Because I guess I've always thought drills are very helpful, even, especially the older you get, it's a good reminder to take a kind of a break from the amount of swimming that you're doing at, at the sort of the level that, and that's been ingrained in you to just like take a pause, break it down. So how do you as a coach like look to implement drills versus actually getting in the work that you need? Like, is there a sweet spot where you find, oh, we can do this in warm up? Maybe it's just another way of getting them to feel their connection, or simply just to switch up the type of swimming that we're doing, or is it actually something that's helpful? Because I'm always playing around with that.
Again, I think different on the person. So we do a lot more skill work with the sprint group than we do with the distance group.
Yeah.
They got a lot. They just have more coordination. They kind of understand how their body moves. The distance group, honestly, they just want to grind. Like,
they want to go.
They want to put the work in. Now we're not going 10K days and stuff like that, but for what we do, right? I think like sprinters, we probably add skill work into every single practice. And we swim 9 times a week. 3 of those are only an hour long. So maybe those 3, one of them is totally dedicated to skill work, but more like starts, turns, underwaters. The other 2 are speed and power. So the other 6 swims, honestly, we're probably using some sort of equipment in terms of resistance, and we're doing skill work on all 6 of those swims. So it's a part of every single practice. And again, we can write things up, we can talk, we can do the demonstrations, but then it's on them to actually be engaged and actually focus on what they're doing. And if they don't, then, they lost that opportunity.
Right.
We provide the opportunities for them, and they're the ones that have to take it.
Right.
But I think it can be, and the people who want to be really good are the ones that take the time and focus on it and do a good job on that type of stuff.
Yeah. How much kick do you implement at Catawba?
Yeah. I struggle with kick sets. I personally don't enjoy them, like watching them. I hated doing them. I was a horrible kicker. I think it's really important early in the season. So right now we're doing a lot of it. We definitely fall off after kind of the first, 6 to 8 weeks. I'd say we get in a decent bit of kicking, but then we're kind of like, all right, like there's better use of our time. I think, have your legs conditioned, especially as you're swimming 11 events and you're trying to get through a long meet. Like, it is important. Like, I do think it does provide value. But I also think you can kind of get that, like maybe in the weight room as well, or maybe in a dry land. So I think we use it a lot early season just to help us get conditioning in, not swim as much. When, you're kind of trying to gauge what they did over the summertime. But then, and I don't know if I think, Reagan wants to add a little bit more of it into the distance group this year. I have a few ideas of kind of how we can add it into some of the intense stuff that we're doing, but probably nothing like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden we're going to do, 3 times the amount of kicking that we were doing. Like, that's not probably going to happen.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I was going to ask one more question. I'm forgetting now. And then lifting. Are you lifting 3 times a week as a team? Is it more or less sprinters, distance swimmers, or how do you work in the weight training and the out of swimming stuff?
So we go. Our sprint group goes 3 lifts and 2 dry land sessions. Our middle distance group goes 3 lifts. And we're actually going to add 1 dry land session in. This will be the first year we do it. I've been trying to figure out their schedule to make it work. And we finally got it this year. And then our distance group goes 2 lifts. We did 3 for the first 2 years. And then the second year it was like, gosh, this is just really kind of tearing them up, and they can't really perform very well. I remember the second year we were literally in a taper block in the weight room, and when we have strength coach and everything, but we're in a taper block, getting ready for midseason or conference, I can't remember. and there was some like kind of fast, explosive things that they were doing, and like the next day, the distance, like women were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sore." And we were
Mm,
like none of that should have. I looked at it, it's like none of that should have been hard, but they're not necessarily used to expressing that sort of power or speed or for some of them even strength, and so it's like, that's actually making them more sore, and that's not good. And then just like through the year, just like kind of watching their fatigue levels throughout the week, they weren't necessarily able to do the things that we wanted them to in the pool. And so we were like, hey, let's just try to go 2. And we did that last year, and it was awesome. And it kept them where they needed to be fatigue level wise. It kept them where they needed to be in the pool. I think they were happier about it, which tends, doesn't always mean that's the right thing to do if they want it. But like, I think it was, but again, it's different per person. So we do have a few distance women who like they train with distance almost exclusively, but they do lift 3 times. And for us, I guess kind of where we make that break is like looking at their body type, but also like those 2 are, while they are distance swimmers, they're also really good 200 freestylers. And so we kind of just feel like, all right, they need the 3rd one in there for that. Whereas some of the other ones are maybe more on the 1,000-mile, 500 instead of, 200 might be kind of 4th for them. And then, within the weight room, we have a sprint kind of program and or I guess we call it like upper lower. Upper people being the distance people, and maybe some of those mid-D people who just are not maybe, as great in the weight room. And then the lower people being the sprint people and some of the mid-D people who maybe do kind of express a little bit more of that power and athleticism. So, again, we're trying to be, specific to the individual and not, hey, distance group, you're going to go and do, 4 sets of 2 at 95% of your max. Like, I don't necessarily know if that's helping them a ton. Is that helping the sprinters? Absolutely. They're expressing a ton of strength. They're getting some power work there. Like, that's awesome. But, I don't know if everyone
like
needs
distance swimmers. It truly is more like it can be more complementary to their actual swimming. But with sprinters, it's like, wow, the weight room is arguably as important as your swimming, or more important than like your swimming is almost complementary to your lifting. So it really is a totally different thing. So it makes sense why you need to kind of individualize things, but also be like, hey, distance swimmers, you guys need something very different than what the sprinters do. I totally get that. Well, good. So take us back a little bit as far as your journey into swimming and then eventually into coaching. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into swimming? And then eventually what led you into coaching?
Grew up in Ohio, born and raised in Kettering, Ohio, suburb of Dayton, and whole family is kind of still back there. And got into swimming through my kind of across the street neighbor, best friend growing up. I'm an only child, so didn't have any siblings or anything like that. And he was like my brother, and we just kind of did everything together. And he was swimming, so he got me into summer league. And I feel like I really had a traditional start. Like, did the summer league thing, really enjoyed it, had a ton of fun. Some of those kids on summer league were doing club swimming, and I was like, yeah, that, they're better than me. Like, that looks like it would be helpful. And joined a club team local club team in the area, and did the whole thing. And I mean, swam for about 10 years, swam high school. I feel like really traditional, swimming career. And then in my sophomore year of high school, I really out of the blue kind of developed a heart condition. And my heart rate would get up to like 280.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and that feels like a while ago now. But yeah, like hit 280, and your heart's not really pumping any blood at that point, so like my body just kind of like seized up. And the first time it happened, I was like, wow, that like definitely doesn't feel good. And I'm like trying to calculate my heart rate, and I'm like, holy crap, like this, this is like not right. But as a typical swimmer does, you just keep going.
Yeah.
So I showed up the next day, and it happened again, and like
Same thing.
literally happened like every single day for 3 months. I would hit 280. And that was like, all right, like there's got to be a stopping point, at some point here. And I started seeing doctors, and I, wasn't being neglected by any means, but I was going to doctors, general practitioners, going and seeing people, and nothing's wrong. I go and do a stress test. They're like, you're in great shape. Okay. Like that's not telling me anything. And yeah, it was just like pretty tough to find. And so finally got up to Ohio State University and their medical center. And they were able to implant this device like right underneath like the skin, basically. And it was like a heart monitor that was with me all the time. It could get wet. It was protected by my skin. It was like an incision that they made and put it in there. And so whenever, they call it this episode, whenever I have an episode, I have this device. This thing was calculating at all the time. It was getting basically 24/7 getting my information. And then there was ways to kind of transport that over to the hospital. So I remember the first time I had it in, the first time I swam, obviously it happened, like heart rate hit 280. And I know it's 280 because like we have the data on that. And I like sent the information over, and I mean, it wasn't more than 30 minutes, and they called my mom asking if I was alive. And they were like, do not like let him leave. Like I was like, I have a swim meet this weekend. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I was like, this has been going on for 3 months. Like I'm good. And they're like, no, like you are not good. And so they made me come up to Ohio State the next day, and they basically just like trapped me in the room. That's maybe an over exaggeration, but they were like, this is very serious. Like you cannot really do anything. Like we got to monitor you. But it only happened when I swam. It didn't happen when I did dry land, could go running, could lift, could ride a bike. I mean, literally like a literal stress test, like a hard stress. And they're like, I don't get it. Like it's not happening. And so that kind of started this process where, it ended up, it's a 4-year journey of this thing. So I won't go through the whole story here, but ended up having 3 heart surgeries, not major. It's not like they're cracking my chest open or anything like that, but, going through my groin and doing kind of, I guess, a discovery and what they would probably say. And looking at the electrical system of my heart, realizing I had some things that weren't firing the right way and causing my heart rate to be really, really fast. And, did the first one my sophomore year of high school, kind of caused a lot of other complications, and didn't really get the full problem. And so even though, Ohio State doesn't want to admit that, but, didn't solve the problem per se.
Yeah.
So that was like a real kind of journey, I guess, like my sophomore, junior, and senior year of sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, and then into my freshman year of college. I had 2 more my freshman year of college. The second one, that first one, my freshman year, my heart rate actually did hit 300. In this procedure, they had to give me adrenaline to get my heart rate up to see where the issue's at. And they like showed me the graph afterwards, and it hit 300, which is like, that's insane. And I was asleep for that one. I was awake for the first one. They had me awake for that, which was insane. And so, but like the chance of a pacemaker was like, I think the doctor told my mom it was like 90%, because the things they had to do was just so small. And, it's obviously like a very delicate area in there. And so they didn't do anything on the second time. And it was really kind of more like exploring. And so they sent me to Charleston, South Carolina, where they had a little bit different, advanced technology, and they could do some different things there. And that solved it. And so that got the issue. And it had started affecting my daily life. Like my heart would shoot up to 220, just like walking up a flight of stairs. So it had started affecting my daily life. So I wanted to get it kind of fixed and get it resorted my freshman year of college. So that's kind of like, I guess, my swimming journey, which is, long-winded there, but I don't usually tell that, it's been a while. Like I got fixed in like 2015. So we're coming up, we're 10 years, which is insane, because that was such a big piece of my life for 4 years. Now I'm healthy and I can exercise, and I'm, I think just stress levels, fatigue levels, I have to monitor that a little bit. But other than that, all that's great, which is fantastic. And so then, kind of getting into the bigger part here, the journey into coaching. Once that happened, my sophomore year, I was really not swimming a whole lot consistently, and was just going to practice and wanted to be on the same schedule, wanted to see my friends just on deck and from a different vantage point. And I was like, this is kind of interesting. Like, I think I enjoy this, and started reading a little bit more about like the physiology and the science. And I was like, wow, this is like pretty crazy, like what the human body is capable of. And so kind of felt like, wow, I might want to get into coaching. And had heard of this school called Queen's University in Charlotte, and went and visited it, loved it. I myself wanted to swim there, and kind of realized at the end of my high school that wasn't going to happen. And I definitely was not good enough to be on that team. And so I just reached out to the coaches there, and Jeff Dugdale, the head coach, and said, hey, I think I want to get into coaching. Here's my situation. I'll come and work for free. And they said yes. And so I went freshman year and showed up on the first day of practice, and just kept showing up. Never stopped showing up. And, really like unhealthy amount of time at the pool. Asked a ton of questions, just grilled them, just in the office with them all the time if I wasn't in class. And really got like a great like intro into coaching. And at the time, Queens was Division II, and my freshman year of college, they were coming off winning their first national championship for both the men and the women. And so it's like obviously a great program. And then during my 4 years there, we were able to win all 4 years in a row. So I was a part of the second, third, fourth, and fifth national championship for both men and women.
What was that like? Like being a young assistant coach? Just
amazing.
Yeah.
Like the best introduction I could have asked for, with awesome people. Jeff Dugdale, still the head coach there. And I talk to Jeff a lot. We're 45 minutes away, so I see him pretty frequently too. And I owe that guy everything. Like he gave me, the start and helped me. And I was I didn't know anything. I was a freshman in high school or in college, 18 years old, and really just like poured a lot into me and gave me a lot of trust and just believe.
Is there anything in specific from Jeff that you like really just observed and took on and appreciated like during those 4 years as 18 to 22-year-old?
Yeah, appreciate now way more than I did then. I think that's always the case, as unfortunate as it is. Just his ability to like see the big picture And like, as a assistant coach or a volunteer, you always think like, oh, I could do this better. Like everyone thinks that, oh, I could do this better. Well, then you get the position and it's like, oh, wow, this is actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
But it was seeing like his vision, big picture, long term, not like just single year focused, right? And I think Jeff is like the mastermind of being able to set the vision and then be able to get a group of people to believe it and buy into it and move towards it. Like I've never seen that from anyone else. And I'm trying to do it. I don't, I'm definitely not as good as him. Like it's pretty incredible what he's been able to do there. So a ton of respect.
Yeah. How does he do that?
God, he's so convincing. It's insane. Like you just listen to him and you're like, yeah, we're going to do that. Like that's going to happen. I think the coaching side, like, is obviously one thing, but it's more than that. It's the culture. It's the people you bring in on your team. It's the people you bring in on your staff. I'm sure if had I not been a good fit, he wouldn't have allowed me to keep coming around. I'm pretty confident in that actually. So I think, like there's such a conviction and such like
a belief. Yeah.
It's such a belief. It's insane. And you just never even question that anything other than what he said could happen.
How did your role grow there over the 4 years?
Yeah. I mean, my freshman year, like it was really like, I mean, I say this, it wasn't like, hey, go stand in the corner and be quiet. It wasn't that, but like, I felt like, hey, I'm going to shut up and just watch.
Yeah.
I had tasks, right? I had to log every practice, which was super beneficial now that I look back on it. I logged every single practice for all the groups for the entire year. And really just kind of being there, I feel like and helping out, set up equipment and move lane lines, just general stuff to take it off of the staff. Right. And then it got, it grew from there where sophomore year, I got a little bit more responsibility. And I think my ability of being able to come up with things on the fly comes 100% from my time at Queens. They didn't write anything down ahead of time. They were all great coaches. They just knew what we needed to do at certain times of the year. And, but I remember one time specifically, I think it was my sophomore, maybe my junior year. I came down to the pool probably 10 minutes before practice started. I think I just got out of class, came down and put my bag in the office, and Jeff gave me the marker and he was like, hey, go ahead and write warm up. And I was like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah, you got it. And I was like, holy crap, what do you mean? He's like, just go out there, write warm up. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know the first thing about writing a set. And so I wrote the warm up and we did it. And he gave me some feedback. And then that happened more and more. And my senior year, I got to run the 200 IM group on Monday night. And I was a senior in college. I was 21 or 22 years old. And I remember the first day, the first practice for the 200 IMers where, we were breaking up. I went and had practice written down on a piece of paper, and I gave it to him. And he's like, I don't need to look at that. You're good. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, Matt, you've been here for 3 years. I trust you. I what we do. Just go and do it. And that was huge. I mean, just the trust of we're trying to win a national championship, and this is a pretty important group of people, and you're just letting me do it. So that was awesome. That was
that's a turning point. Yeah.
Yeah. Huge turning point. And then, at the same time we had, Team Elite, which used to be a part of SWMAC and then kind of did their own thing. Also training at the same facility, training at Queens, and the head coach there, David Marsh, he became the head Olympic coach of the 2016 women's Olympic team. And I got to be with him for 4 years. And Fall of 2015 was my first semester, and probably a month or so in, he was named the head coach of the Olympic team and had 16% of the U.S. Olympic team in 2016 that came out of our group in Charlotte. And that was really like, hey, shut up and I'm just going to stand back and just watch. Yeah. And
questions.
Yeah, that was insane.
And you mentioned some of those swimmers off air. Like,
yeah,
who were some of those swimmers?
Yeah, we had at the time Ryan Lochte, Tyler Clary, Cullen Jones, Kathleen Baker, Katie Miley. We had Kirsty Coventry, Camille Adams, Anthony Irvin joined the group.
Star-studded.
Jimmy Fegan. Yeah, Jimmy Fegan. That was crazy. I was just like, a huge swim fan. And so the first day that these people walk in, I was like, holy crap, like, look at this group. Like, that's insane. And, 16% of the U.S. Olympic team from that group. And then I think had they been their own country, they would have been third on the medal table.
Wow.
For swimming. So it was a pretty good Olympics. And
anything you remember, like, from just watching them, like any memories where you're like, wow, that was an insane practice or set, or that's a far back, but like things.
Yeah. I think Ryan pushed like a 4:30 something 500 backstroke for time.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Talk about like reading your athletes. That's David's specialty. David knows how to get the best out of people in the most intense environments at the right time. That is what he is. He's probably the best in the world at doing that. But also like watching him come into a practice, starting to write practice on a whiteboard, turning around, looking at the group, thinking, erasing the practice, looking at them again, writing something, like, just in the moment. What do these guys need?
Adapting. Yeah.
He has his idea, and we're going to follow a pattern, but like, it could just change, and you can never know what it could be. We had some Saturday practices that were 3 hours long, or we could have a Saturday practice that was an hour and a half, and you had no idea. And like, people call him the mad scientist, and that was really cool, just being with, I got to spend 4 years with him. So I really, developed a really good relationship with him. And probably another thing is, worked a lot with Anthony Irvin on his start. I don't say that I necessarily did that. I was in the background helping with some of the equipment. But just like watching that, and then watching the 50 free final in Rio and watching him win gold and being like,
I was right there.
I was like, I kind of helped a little bit. Like, I was there. That was cool. Like, the connection of that, of like, oh wow, this is pretty awesome. And those are my first 4 years of coaching ever. So I got to be a part of winning 4 national championships, and I got to work with the head Olympic coach for 4 years.
It's quite the introduction. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like, I don't know if I could have set it up much better.
No, you can't write that better. And and like, so you're around these high level athletes, both at the college level, the elite level. I mean, you make a stop at IU, at FSU. Like, what are things that you're noticing about these swimmers? Like, these, because obviously as coaches, it's important to see what the coaches are doing. But what about the swimmers? Like, what are you noticing? And like, how are you reaching this high of a level? And I mean, is there a specific swimmer that sticks out where you watch them and you were like, wow?
I mean, Brendan Burns was pretty incredible. He was a freshman my year at IU. That was pretty. I just think, like, and kind of with all of them, I don't know him specifically. I just think, like, the way they move through the water is crazy. I mean, we had in IU, we had Lily King and Cody Miller and Annie Laser. I got to work with the breaststroke group twice a week with Ray, and Ray would want me to like give Cody feedback. And I was like, Ray, I mean, that's pretty spot on. Like, I don't really know if I can, like,
what
give him, like, it's pretty awesome. Like, what are you going to, and Ray would always like find his points there. But like, it's pretty on it. So yeah, I think like that high level of an athlete, like, and those are some things that you just can't coach. Like they just have it.
Yeah.
Like they have the ability to move through the water. I don't know if I've ever really seen someone like a Lily King be able to like turn it on and off in terms of mentality, like a switch. That was pretty wild. Like in certain practices, it's like, oh, like she flipped the switch there. And like she's on, and then
Yeah.
she could just flip it off. And I think that's like a common trait amongst great athletes in general, regardless of the sport, being able to like really focus in when they need to,
Yeah.
and just like get the job done regardless of the circumstance.
Right. Yeah.
But again, I don't know if you can really coach that. I think you kind of have to be either born with it or be put in situations really young and develop that. I think which is tough. I think by the time people get to us in college, like there's only so much that we can do to change them.
Yes.
Right. Whether it's stroke technique or like some of those
habits
that are, I mean, they've been swimming for so long. Like we're going to try, but it's tough. Right.
A lot of it's done at the developmental level for sure.
Yeah, and our club coaches don't get enough credit for that. And they also don't get enough help and resources. So, I mean, those are the people that are making our job fun and easier, right?
Easier, definitely.
Like someone comes in with bad technique and it's like, oh gosh, where do we start? Is it even worth us starting there? Like, we've had some, I guess throughout the different programs I've worked at, there's been some kids that have been incredibly fast and have horrible technique.
Yeah.
And I remember one specifically, like we tried to slow him down and change it one year and he swam worse. And then the year after, the following year, we're like, hey, forget all that. Just go back to doing what you're doing.
Go back.
And it worked. Yeah. His body found a way to move through the water really efficiently, even though it didn't look good. So it's not always like, I try to be really hesitant and take my time with like making big stroke changes because maybe that is the most efficient path for them. And I don't want to disrupt that.
Change it too much. Yeah. We talked a lot about that. I feel like on my coaching staff this past year, just, not trying to change their stroke that much.
There's little things that everyone can get better at, but
for sure.
Big picture things you got to be real careful with.
Yeah, definitely. So like last few questions here, but what do you think is something that was like really another turning point or something that you learned being at the other stops that you made, right? From IU to Little Rock, to then FSU, like what were some moments there where you really maybe shifted your perspective or, evolved as a coach?
Yeah, I think the people, and I made this comment earlier, like the people around you are really important. So the athletes, that you have on your team are really important. And there's a lot of say that the coaching staff has in that, which I think should be used. And then I think the staff is really important. Like you got to have good people around you. And I'm super lucky. I have a great staff. But that can make or break kind of the season. And I think, I think the kids feel it. I think there's got to be similarities between what's being said. And I think I learned that, through different examples at all of those places. And then, there's good and bad to all of those things, but having a group of people that are on the same page and want to move forward towards the goal, which I also think you have to define. Like that's a big part of our program is defining what our goals are, defining where we're trying to move to at the end of the season. I don't think you can just like go throughout a season blind and like, oh, I hope we have a good year.
No, you have to have goals. Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't really understand what that means. So I think you kind of have to be able to define those things and then have the group that's going to, move towards that.
Yeah.
And I think I just saw, I guess, I don't know if I'm answering the question the way you were hoping. I think I saw the importance of that more so at some of the other stops. I think I saw how important it was
to define your goals and move towards that.
Yeah.
Like as a staff, as a team. Yeah. No, that makes sense. It totally makes sense. Yeah. Because also like, year to year, you might have been at a place, especially if you're a head coach, you're going on year 7, year 8, year 20, year 21. And it's like, you could just go through the same motions and
Absolutely.
that's fine. But like, you need to be able to kind of look for something and define a goal. I haven't been there, as long as that, but I would say that's probably what I would, I would think that coaches are looking to do. New team every year, swimmers coming in. So, that makes sense. And what are some of like your favorite memories, like races, practices? I mean, we touched on some, like, but that you've that you've seen and that you've been at along these stops, like things that when you think back, this sticks out.
I mean, it's really, Queens is all kind of like really at the national championship. I mean, being able to do that for the 4 years, jump in the water at the end of the meet and like celebrate with everyone. We went, what year was it? I think we were in Greensboro. Graduated in 19. It might have been 2018. I'd have to look at the year. I think it might have been 2018. We put 6 women in the A final of the 100 backstroke at NCAA's. And then we went 1 through 6.
Oh my God.
And, if we're kind of, what we obviously hope for that and you're watching it and, like everyone they finish and like the entire deck goes quiet and you can like hear people like kind of counting and then there's only 3 teams in the race and we go absolutely crazy and that was a moment that's like holy crap. I mean that's insane.
That's awesome.
That was really cool. I think with David and Team Elite, like Kathleen Baker broke the world record in the 100 backstroke in 2017. That was pretty awesome. That was like a moment that I was like, holy crap. Like
that was at the national championships, right?
Yeah. Out in Irvine.
I remember that.
Yeah. That summer.
I remember that. Yeah.
And, I had been kind of with Team Elite at that point for like 2 years. So I was a little bit more kind of solidified into things. And I was like, whoa, like,
wow,
that's pretty awesome. And then, so like those are, probably like the foundational things that stick with me a lot. I think here, like, I think our women last year getting 6th and the 400 medley relay at NCAA was a pretty awesome moment. I don't like, we didn't know what we were doing. Our women had never had a relay before. And, I think they like, okay, we could probably get top 8 here. But they just had an absolutely amazing swim. And we did it out of one of the early heats. And so we're, we did it. We had great swim. We're watching the scoreboard for all the other heats. And then, of course, you're trying to count and you're waiting for Meet Mobile. And just to watch them, like, have the joy and jumping up and down and crying with each other and, like, getting their trophies, like, that's pretty awesome. I don't know if there's a lot that beats that feeling. And then just like for the men, just like I really feel like the second year was huge because we just like came in with such a big class. I guess we went from like 8 to 15 on the men's side. We still weren't even a full scoring team. And we went from 4th to 2nd at conference. And we had gone, like I said earlier in the beginning, we had 0 people in the 100 or 200 breaststroke. And then we won both of those events. And I think we had 4 guys in the A final at our conference in maybe both of those. I have to check that, but went from 0 people in it to having 4 in the A and winning both. And, those guys had like a really awesome moment after that, with each other. And, it's just cool. Like, it's all about the people. It's all about the athletes. We're trying to set them up for the best success that they can have. And those are the things that, when you watch someone do something that they didn't think they could do, or maybe you didn't think they could do. It's pretty, when they blow your expectations, it's pretty crazy.
It's pretty amazing. And like you mentioned too, like you have that relationship and that connection with those athletes, and so it makes it extra special seeing them surprise themselves or even surprise you as a coach. I think that's the piece that's like amazing.
And I go crazy at meets. I
jumping up and down.
I'm screaming,
yelling.
I black out on a few of them because I was just like so like in awe of what they've just did. I also get stressed out. Like,
sure. That means you care though. Like that's
my gosh. So, and the ones that are not swimming, that are on the side cheering, they're just laughing. It's just fun. Like, it's just nothing like that. Those 4 or 5 days.
Do you think winning changes something in you as like a coach or an athlete? Like when you actually see it and you're around it, like the way you look at, your next sort of position as a coach or where you want to be around, like, I don't know. Do you think that changes something, or is it, it doesn't matter as much?
No, 100%. Because when you do it, I mean, and I won't, I guess, speak for everyone, but like for me, I mean, again, like my intro into coaching was winning 4 national championships.
Right.
And then I went and like, we didn't win, but like, it's different context, but like, I love winning. I don't really care what it is. I just like winning.
Yeah.
So, with where I feel like we are right now at Catawba and where kind of our runway and what we can accomplish, I think that I can get a lot of joy out of what is to come.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to be somewhere where I wouldn't get that.
Don't have that opportunity, like in a way. To like build
and like, this is where I struggle a little bit with, the whole like D1 thing with recruiting. Like, I think the experience that we can provide here in Division II is a lot better than some, not all, of Division I schools. I even think what you guys can offer in D3, right? Do you want to go be another body on a roster and end your season in February? Do you want to go and make NCAAs, become an All-American? I mean, none of my 4 national championship rings say Division II on them. They say national champion.
Right.
Yep. I think on the All-American certificate, the Division II part's like not very big. Like, I just don't really think it matters when you get out of college and you go sit in, which our girls are going to do this year, go sit in on to take the MCAT or to go into PA school or get a job interview. And you have on your resume, which I tell them all, put on your resume, NCAA qualifier, highest GPA in the country, 6 semesters, whatever it is. Hey, they're not going to say, hey, is that Division I?
No.
Like, come on, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah,
I just don't think it matters.
I don't even think, but I don't even think that's why people do it. I think it's just because like people go D1 because it's D1, and it's like there's this whole notion that it's like that's the best place that you can be. Like, I feel like a lot of people that go through the recruiting process look for a college or university to swim at. It's like, well, what's the best place that I can reach, and like, be a body on a big program that allows more roster spots, even though now that's getting cut back. So maybe that'll be less and less of a reality for people. You can't just be a body. You actually have to have impact. But I think, it dispels like how much the D1, just like title matters for sure. I mean, I say it all the time. I would have looked at things differently if I had considered D3 or D2 maybe, because it's just, but you don't know unless someone kind of tells you, I think, like, I don't know, because people just don't know about D2 colleges as much.
Yeah. And that's, I worked at a D1 mid major. So like, and I had a great experience and I loved it, but I also knew that like, I mean, we're probably never qualifying a woman to NCAAs.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
that's kind of the epitome of the program, and now, and granted it is D2, but like we had 16 there last year, so like for me, that fills my cup. I'm good. That, I want to win. I want to be a part of something that's making progress. Those are things that like make me excited, not just, hey, I'm going to go here because it's quote unquote better.
Right. Totally. Yeah. Well, it's something to think about, for any swimmer athletes that are listening. You have great T2 programs right here, D3 programs as well.
D3,
NAIA,
Rob, JUCO.
Totally.
We get a lot. I mean, we have 2 kids that have come from JUCO programs right now on our team. And we've had them a lot, and other programs have been at. There's great programs everywhere, and you gotta put in a little work and look, and not just see the big flashy thing that everyone else is doing.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. All right. Well, last and final question for you, Matthew. Are you a fan of get out swims? And if so, do you have a favorite get out swim story?
No, I am not a huge fan. It's funny because like I was way more like of a fun coach when I wasn't the head coach, and for whatever reason, like something switched, and it's like, all right, we have to. And even like I'm still a minimalist, but it's like, all right, we have to do this. We have to like. I don't want to take away from the time that we're training, maybe because I know how little that we can get away with. But like, and you can ask the team, like I'm not a fun coach by any means. I am a like, here's the task that we have at hand, and like we need to do it and do it to the best of our ability. Now, we did do a get out swim last year. They didn't know, kind of made everyone warm up. We thought we were doing something, and I picked 2. I picked one from the women's team and one from the men's team. We were just coming off of a meet the day before. They were pretty beat up, and those 2 like crushed it. Like it wasn't even, and we actually gave them like, I kind of thought they were pretty tough times, and they just like blew them completely out of the water. And we got kids throwing their towels, jumping in the water. And then I told them, and by the way, we don't have to lift. And they were going crazy. So yes, we've done it. I try to use it very sparingly when I feel like we need it.
Right.
Where I feel like, hey, maybe the work we're going to do today isn't going to be worth anything. And they need a little bit of a rest. And then I think that's a good opportunity to do it.
Totally. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny because you were leading with like, I'm not a fan, but we did do one last year.
But we did do one last year.
We did do it. Yeah.
Yes.
What point of the year was that?
That was in January.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I feel like that's a good time. Yeah. We like, even on my first collegiate team that I coach for, we do like a get out swim sort of in January. When everyone's beat up, everyone's tired.
Yeah. Getting ready to start resting.
Yes, exactly. Like that was kind of a nice, because it's a confidence boost too for, the team and those athletes. And I feel like people really rally behind it. So again, use them appropriately. But
I've heard some crazy stories. Like you listen to Braden Holloway, the head coach at NC State, and like his first year, he had a guy get up and do it after like a really hard dryland session, and he went a lifetime best in the 100. And it's like, man, you got to really be ready for that. Like, when you need some buy-in from the team, but you got to make sure they're going to do it.
Totally. That's so cool though, because like it's like when the pressure's on, it just shows you how much is on the mental side too. Because man, it's like when the pressure's on, or when like it's your effort is now going to be riding on, like the rest of your team and everyone else. Like, God, people step up in ways that you're just like, you have that in you. Like, why is that not? Why is that not coming out of meets or? But I don't know. That's the the cool part of it too. So
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Matt, thanks so much for hopping on and just
Absolutely.
talking about, all things swimming and I appreciate it a lot. If you want to add anything else, now's the time.
No, I think it's great. Good to get on and talk a little bit. Appreciate you having me on, and I think we're doing exciting things. Check out different opportunities. There's a lot of options for people out there, and go Catawba.
Yeah, go Catawba, man.